David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review. Today I have for you a limited edition pen from Conklin, and that would be the Conklin Mark Twain Crescent Filler in Gunmetal. What I'm going to do today is go over the parts and features of the pen. I'll show you the unique crescent filling system, talk about what I care for and what I don't care for about it. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample. Thanks go out to the good folks at Jaffa Brands, the owners and distributors of Conklin, for providing this pen for review. Conklin is an American brand established in 1898 by its founder, Roy Conklin. Roy is credited with creating one of the world's first self-filling fountain pens called the Crescent Filler. The company was very successful during the golden age of fountain pens. In 1903, the author Samuel Clemens, otherwise known by the nom de plume Mark Twain, became an official spokesman for Conklin. In their advertisements, he extolled the Crescent Filler, saying, "Dear sirs, I profess it to 10 other fountain pens because it carries its filler in its own stomach, and I cannot mislay even by art or intention. I also prefer it because it's a profanity saver. It cannot roll off the desk. Very truly yours, Mark Twain." I guess that's what celebrity endorsements sounded like in the early 1900s. So let's take a look at this profanity saver and what makes this limited edition model special. It arrives in this box. The outer sleeve has a number of patent drawings for the crescent filler. And then underneath we have a standard Conklin box. Inside we have some warranty information. There is a use and care guide. There is some information about the crescent filler line as a whole, as well as some information on this specific gunmetal version. And then we have an overview of Conklin's offerings as a whole. And then, most importantly, we have the pen. This is the Conklin Mark Twain Crescent Filler in Gunmetal. This is a limited edition of 1,898 units, which, if you recall, was the year that Conklin was originally founded. The barrel and cap are brass with a gunmetal colored PVD coating, giving it an interesting mix of metallic dark hues. I've always liked the gunmetal look on pens. While the exterior of this pen is a bit of a fingerprint magnet, I do find the color of the material does a good job of hiding them. I don't find myself with a constant urge to clean this pen. Let's take a look at the end of the cap. The end of the cap is rounded. This transitions into the traditional Conklin clip. While the overall look of this clip is not my favorite, it does function well. I do like the hinge design of this mechanism. Being able to push down on the end of the clip to raise the front makes it easy to use in materials of varying sizes. But the clip has enough play in it that you're not required to use the hinge in order to operate it normally. The cap angles up just slightly, and then it reaches a narrow engraved ring, giving the illusion of a cap band. Right below the ring, on one side, it says Conklin, and on the other, it has the signature of Mark Twain and the limited edition number of this pen. I think I might have mentioned this in my review of another crescent filler in the Conklin lineup, but in regard to the pen name Mark Twain, in his youth, Samuel Clemens worked on Mississippi river boats. There was a person on the boat who was in charge of monitoring the depth of the water in order to make sure there was plenty of clearance for the boat. They had a rope that they'd throw over the side of the ship called the wet line, and that had a mark on it for every fathom, which is 6 feet. Once the water reached the second line, indicating the water was 2 fathoms deep and safe for the passage of the boat, the person would call out by the mark Twain. Twain being another word they used for the number 2. So that's how the Mark Twain name originated. And I learned all of that from taking the riverboat cruise at Disneyland dozens of times over the years. Growing up in San Diego, Disneyland was only about 90 minutes away, so it wasn't a bad drive. There is a medium-sized step down from the cap to the barrel. The barrel tapers down at an even angle until you reach the most distinctive feature of this pen, the crescent filling system. On one side, the crescent is stamped with Conklin, and on the other, it is laser engraved with Crescent Filler trademark. Beneath the crescent is a floating piece of plastic. Let me show you how this filling system works. In order to do so, please join me for a second for an aside over here at camera 2. This is a demonstrator version of the Mark Twain model. The inner workings are the exact same as the Gunmetal model, but on this one you could just get a look at what's going on in there. You can see here that there are three main parts. There is the crescent, which is attached to a long rod. There is an extended sack on the inside, and then there is this plastic ring. Think of this like a safety on a gun. It prevents you from inadvertently activating the crescent. It rotates, and you can see that there's a little gap in there, which you line up with the crescent, and when you do that, then you can see that when you press down on the crescent, the bar pushes down on the sack. When you release the crescent, a vacuum is created and ink is sucked into the sack. It's a pretty cool filling system, but I will say that it's one that works okay. What I mean by that is it's really difficult to get a really full fill. On this resin demonstrator, the plastic ring has a bit of tension on it when you twist it, an appropriate amount. On the gunmetal version though, the ring feels a little bit more loose and plasticky. It just rattles around a little bit, and I think that has something to do with it being plastic on metal as opposed to plastic on plastic. Okay, the barrel tapers down some more until you reach the end, which is very slightly rounded. The cap twists off at a rotation and a half. Now, this pen has quad entry threads, so if you always want the crescent to align with the clip, you'll need to learn the correct starting orientation, which for this pen is very simple to remember because it is straight down. You start it there, and then it will end up facing up. Once you remove the cap, you are presented with this black stainless steel nib. It is stamped with Conklin and Toledo, USA. I've always liked their crescent breather hole. The nib is available in extra fine, fine, medium, broad, 1.1 stub, as well as their Omniflex nib. And here's a look at the plastic feed. The section is resin, which is a good thing. The exterior of this pen is rather slick, and a section of this material would not be a good thing. It tapers at the end, and then angles up until you reach the threads and a small step up to the remainder of the barrel. This pen is rather hefty, and it does feel very solid in the hand. It is nice that the crescent faces straight up when writing. If it was angled to the side or on the bottom, then it would be extremely uncomfortable. This pen is long enough to use unposted. It does post, and it does post securely, but with the significant weight of this metal cap, it really does backweight the pen and throw off the balance, so I would recommend using this pen unposted. The barrel is 45 grams, which isn't light, but I find it to be very usable and the weight to be evenly distributed. You cannot remove the section. The nib unit does unscrew for easy cleaning though. At some point, I was thinking about doing a general video about cleaning pens. I've been a bit on a cleaning kick lately. Let me know in the comments below if you would like to see a video about general cleaning and maintenance. The limited edition Conklin Mark Twain Crescent Filler in gunmetal is available from a wide variety of retailers and sells for $156. I feel that's a reasonable price for what you receive with this model. I really like the gunmetal finish, and I do like that the pen has a bit of heft to it. I wish this ring wasn't as rattly as it is, but overall it's a decent offering. Thanks go out to Jaffa Brands for providing this pen for review. Now it is time for some measurements, size comparisons, and a writing sample. So here we go with some size comparisons for the Conklin Mark Twain Crescent Filler in gunmetal. In regard to some other pens offered by Jaffa, here it is with a Monteverde Ritma, and then here it is with a Monza ID, and then also here it is with a Conklin All-American. You're going to be seeing reviews of all of these pens coming up in the next few weeks and months. And then in regard to some other pens, here it is with a Pilot Metropolitan and a Lamy All-Star. And then another pen that you're going to see reviewed coming up in the near future, which is a brand new offering from Leonardo, which is the Magico. This one is in what I call kind of a crushed version as far as the material goes. And what's different about this pen compared to other Leonardos is the section is different. It's more of a traditional section. And then it has a piston with a very large and nice ink window in here. You can see the piston going back and forth in there. And they even provide a tool so you could totally disassemble this pen. So I'm looking forward to sharing that Magico with you here shortly as well. In regard to uncapped comparisons, here it is with that All-Star and the All-American, and then here it is with that Leonardo Magico. So here we go with the writing sample for the Conklin Mark Twain crescent filler in gunmetal. And this is a medium stainless steel nib. And the ink that I'm using is one from Private Reserve, which is Private Reserve Spearmint. I recently did an overview of a lot of Private Reserve offerings, so if you want to see a lot of different colors that they offer, then you might want to check that video out. This is what the ink looks like. It's a nice vibrant green. Here it is in comparison to the Fountain Pen Revolution Green with Envy, as well as the Ferris Wheel Press Misguided Mistletoe, which is a little bit darker. These are the Private Reserve bottles. It's a nice 60 milliliter bottle with a very wide neck to it. But they're nice bottles and nice inks. And here we go with the rest of the writing sample. I did have one skip there, but I think it was more how I was holding the pen. I had it at a slight angle, and I think that caused that. I do find that this medium nib, you can get a little line variation out of here if you do press it. And the ink flow on this medium nib is very generous. In regard to reverse writing, that is very scratchy. And in regard to some fast writing, there was a little issue there, but I think that's because when I was doing the reverse writing, a little bit of paper got stuck in there. So I think that's what caused the skips there. But other than that, it worked just fine. So there is the Conklin Mark Twain crescent filler in gunmetal. I will say, of the crescent fillers that I've tested out and had a chance to take a look at, this is my favorite material. I just think that this material looks rather cool. So I think it's worth checking out. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.